Markets have pulled back in some of the favorites of the past year, and that includes electric vehicle plays that were roaring non-stop. One of them, GreenPower Motor Company, Canadian-based maker of electric vehicles, including buses, rallied and is still up 1,600% even after the pullback. We have the CEO joining us this morning, Fraser Atkinson, here on Morning Trade Live. Fraser, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about the developments over the past quarter. Your most recent earnings report that came right near the highs of the stock, but we've seen a broader kind of market reset in the industry overall. When I look at the expectations, your team came in line to better than a lot of them. So walk us through kind of the state of things after all of this euphoria the past year.
Well, as successful as we've been on the market, we believe we've even been more successful in moving our business forward. We have a great suite of products that cover the EV Star platform. You were showing a few of our vehicles on your segment before this piece, through a all-electric school bus and low-floor transit products. So we think we're really well positioned that depending on which sectors move the fastest as the economy reopens, we have products that are well suited for each of those sectors.
Now, the school situation and the buses, how much of the demand needs to have some return to normalcy? I mean, kids haven't been going to school for a while, but they're starting to inch their way back in. Is that important to understanding what your revenue will look like in the coming year?
Well, what we're seeing is a really interesting dynamic where the parents of the school children are demanding changes with the traditional school buses that have been used that are in many or most cases diesel powered, which have NOx emissions, which are very harmful for the development of children's lungs. So as soon as schools are reopening, we believe that parents will be strong advocates for change with the nature of the school bus transportation, which is going to go zero emission or all electric.
Now, within the dynamics of revenue and the need for some of these environmentally friendly initiatives, do you expect to have credits from governments, whether U.S. or Canadian? Do you expect to have support by the government? Do you have clarity on what that's going to mean for the company over the next year?
Well, it's been hugely supportive for the development of our industry, and I'd say particularly 4 or 5 years ago. But we're very quickly moving in some areas to where we have price parity, or we're approaching price parity over the next year or two. And for many of our products, they pencil out right now, meaning that when you look at a 5 or a 10-year total cost of ownership, it's cheaper owning our all-electric vehicle than buying a diesel or gasoline-powered alternative.
One of the recent contracts that made news headlines last month, a deal with the unit of Berkshire Hathaway Forest River, and the company offers shuttle services and more. The contract that is multi-year, from what I understand. Walk me through the actual numbers in terms of delivery. And this one I think was interesting because I saw this making the waves and the move that it had on the stock. It seemed like investors liked it. But you're still looking at just 6 units in the first quarter, right? I mean, what kind of ramp up do you expect in the coming year across your clients, and how many vehicles do you expect to ship?
Well, that deal is 450 vehicles with, as you've cited, 6 in the initial 3 to 6 months. And that's to allow them to build out using their body and based on their feedback from their customer set to get them in the marketplace. But by agreement, we have agreed to round out the delivery schedule by the following quarter, at which time we expect to significantly ramp from those kind of numbers. But to give it context, Forest River is considered to be the largest player within the cutaway market. And so they have brands like Starcraft and many others that are market leaders. And that overall market is 13 to 14,000 vehicles per year. So while that may not be a huge number in the context of the automotive sector, for the market that we're in, that's a tremendous market to go after just within one customer relationship. And they're also using our platform, our cab and chassis platform, to build recreational vehicles, which will be interesting as that will be a whole new market, not just for us, but in terms of any other player in the marketplace.
When you look at the projection here, Fraser, obviously the market is very excited about what's to come within this space. In the meantime, some of these moves have just been astronomical. In terms of the revenue, I know that in the last quarter you saw revenue exceed the cost of revenue, and those metrics came in better on the bottom line than analysts were looking for. But it seems like a lot of the big push in revenue from last year came early on, and then it kind of flattened out. So walk me through this. I mean, where is the growth pace going to be when the stock has moved so quickly? Do you worry there's a disconnect between what investors expect from you and what you're able to deliver in the short term?
Oh, not at all. As far as our revenue growth, we've set ourselves up. We listed are uplisted on NASDAQ last fall, and as a result of that, we were able to use the IPO proceeds to immediately increase production across all of our key product line. So while we have been shut down as the whole industry has with the pandemic, we've been preparing ourselves for this coming spring and summer when we expected the economy to reopen and to have product available and ready for delivery. So it's one thing to, in our sector, you can sign an order and have a customer that's eager and willing to take the product right away, but you still have to build it. And so what we have been doing is preparing and increasing our production levels so that we're able to really ramp revenue starting this spring with our EV Stars and this summer with our all-electric school buses.
And what does that, I'm sure we've talked about this with analysts, for those that haven't been following along, what should we expect in terms of revenue by the end of this year? Are you able to give projections? I mean, it sounds like you're very confident in the ramp that's happening in the space. So can you give numbers on where we might be looking at yearly revenue growth at the end of 2021?
We do have 5 analysts that have done a very good job modeling out what one can expect from our business model. We have not provided guidance, and we've been very clear the last couple quarters that we wanted to see some visibility on the recovery or when the economy reopens before giving the kind of guidance that the street can rely on. But one of the things that we've been very good at is not just in managing our cash or application of the resources that we have available to us, is that we've been able to maintain a gross profit of 30%. So while we get into these bigger deals like the Forest River transaction and others that might impact on that, we have a business model that doesn't require a substantial amount of revenue or an increase from where we are to get to a profitable business. So unlike a number of companies in our space, we believe we have one of the fastest paths to profitability, and we've got a great suite of products to accomplish that.
Is there any interest in using the stock where it is right now to issue more shares? Do you feel comfortable with the balance sheet as it is, Fraser, or is there an opportunity here with the stock as elevated as it is over the past year?
Well, if there was a strategic investor in terms, and there being a number of companies that we've applauded in terms of relationships that they've entered into, which also involved a financial ownership from that strategic. If there's something like that, we have always been very open and keen to look at those types of opportunities. But otherwise, we're well funded. We don't have a huge burn rate in terms of our ongoing operations. So we're well positioned where we are right now.
Okay, thank you for the details, Fraser. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. Mr. Atkinson is the CEO at GreenPower Motor Company, ticker GP.